I never really grew up cooking. Honestly, I never went in the kitchen at home. Um, I'm sure you know how it is in a lot of Indian households, is the main female is managing the cooking and the rest of the family don't really get involved. So I think I was much the same. I always thought the food just turned up to the table magically. It was always delicious. But I grew up eating very good food and a lot of home food. We didn't really eat out very much because Ma made such delicious food. Um, so I think my habits were developed entirely by that. Like I started cooking when I came to university and I really missed home food. And I didn't really know how to do a lot of things. So a lot of what I do now stems from those memories. I was born in Kolkata. I lived in Kolkata till I was about 8.5. So my Baba was doing his PLAB exams to work in the NHS here. So he moved, I think, when I was about 5 or 6, and then finally, got his permanent job and everything. And we moved, I think, just before 2000 or around 2000. There was a bit of back and forth when I moved, but I think, yeah, permanently I started staying here when I was about 9. But I've had my connection with Kolkata is very, very strong. I still think of it as my home, and I feel very comfortable being in Kolkata. My supper club menus are very rooted in Bengali cuisine, and the techniques that like Dida, like grandma, all my grandmothers and my mother, like they used. But the food, I don't like saying it's a very traditional, because then people come and expect like kosher mangsho and like rice and dal, and I don't cook that during supper clubs usually. The elements are there and the flavors are there, but it doesn't look like a traditional Bengali meal. I think I prefer 10 to 15 as a capacity, because then I can share my stories, I can chat. But usually supper clubs are 7 to 8 courses. It's a tasting menu. And we kind of go through a little bit of a journey of where the flavors come from and where I learned how to incorporate these flavors into my food. So my first course has always, since I started, has been this puchka aloo. And that's something I can cook with my eyes closed now, because I've made it every single time. I think it's become a bit of a signature. And the story for that usually will tell people that the aloo is very inspired by the bajar that's opposite my house. And we essentially brought the flavors of that street stall. It's very rustic, it's not fancy. It's cooked with a lot of tamarind. Kind of go from the bajar setting from the first course, usually into like a bit of a home setting, and then finish with a very traditional Bengali dessert, but done in a sort of British way that I identify with as well. About one that I did recently on the last menu. So there is a very traditional Bengali recipe of dhoka, which is a kind of lentil-based dish. So supper clubs have been vegetarian for a year and a half now. And I really like focusing on the vegetarian aspects of Bengali food, because that's something that often gets overlooked. Everyone thinks we eat a lot of goat and fish, but actually the home food is very vegetarian based. And I grew up eating vegetarian food most of the time. So dhoka is something I really didn't like until very recently. So which is why I wanted to put it on the menu. I wanted to tell people that not every Bengali likes every Bengali dish. Actually, it's we also have our choices, and this is something that I have adapted to my palate as an adult. I did not like it as a kid. Ma would always struggle feeding me dhoka. So what I did with the dhoka is I got the recipe from my dida and my mom over WhatsApp video calls, and I made both their versions. And then Dida's version is very traditional because she's still living in India. Ma's version, she adapted to a British way of cooking, which is steaming the dhoka in the microwave. So I found that very interesting, and I actually cooked my dhoka in the microwave, but I used the spicing recipe from Dida, and I served it without the sauce, and I just did the very, very crispy dhoka. I made a hummus out of fennel and dal, which was pink because I used beetroot. And then I made, instead of typically a dhoka gravy is very heavy with fennel and cumin and ginger. So I kind of extracted those elements and brought them into a pickle and a chutney. So when you close your eyes and you ate it as a Bengali, it tastes like dhoka dalna. But as a person who's coming in, who's maybe never seen dhoka, It's a completely new way of eating lentils, and it's using very, very humble ingredients that are not expensive to buy, but elevating something that's very simple and rooted in tradition, from preserving lentils, basically. Everybody loves the vegetarian menus, and especially in London, that's the food scene, that's where it's going, with vegetarianism, veganism, and no waste and less carbon footprint. And I love focusing on that because it's how I grew up eating. But I think a lot of Indians give the feedback of like, oh, when are you doing meat? When are you doing fish? Um, which I really like tackling. Actually, I like that challenge because I'm like, okay, well, come and eat 7 courses of vegetarian food and then tell me if you missed it. Gosh, since the pandemic happened, I'll be very honest, I don't like making plans too far in the future because I think I got hit so hard with my business. But I would love to eventually write. I'm actually working on a writing project right now. Honestly, I just want to continue doing supper clubs and feeding people. It's what makes me the happiest.
Okay.
I'm not crazy about, I don't want to open a restaurant because I've worked in the back end of restaurants too much. And I know how much of your life that takes away. So yeah, I don't have any plans to open a big business or anything. I have realized since, well, me and my husband have both realized since staying with our grandmothers in Kolkata that we're very happy in the small things in life. And we don't want to, neither of us want to expand this business into something crazy that we can't control. The biggest joy for me, at least as a cook, is just seeing happy faces leave my kitchen. People come in, they have a good time, and they leave. And if I can provide somebody that half an hour of like, unadulterated joy where they like think of their childhood or they think of their mother or they think of their grandmother, that's what I want to be doing. Like creating a food memory for them. Um, I would love to have a cafe at some point, but I don't know. I don't think that's going to be in London. It's very expensive here, so I don't think I want to do it in London. And I would love to build a community space in that cafe where, yeah, people come, they share food, they share arts, they share their ideas. It's a safe space for people to, hang out. That's what I really want. But the location of that is very up in the air.